Hey, I'm in here. Yo. Yeah, the mic's working.
You
I'm
live,
cooking right
baby?
now, man. I'm cooking right now. I need straining. You going? Put a strain on it.
Left. Left.
Left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be one in there. I got one in there. Doom, doo, doo, doo.
Yo. All right, so I just got a question for you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, people kind of seem to have a difficult conversation with, right? So you remember how they had Black Wall Street? You hear all the stories of Black Wall Street, what happened there, how they built it, and what was in there. So you had hospitals, you had gas stations, you had black hotels, you had black like aircrafts, airplanes, airports, all type of black grocery stores, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be, if you're not chasing that, right? How do, well, the problem, black people for the majority been under that poverty line for a minute
Mm-hmm.
as far as how they generate revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be, how would you build wealth in the black community? In 2026,
Okay.
how would you build wealth in the black community?
Okay. First of all, I understand the economic value of Black Wall Street during this time. That was important. And those type of developments are important because you see them all over the country where you see minority groups who focus on uh, their economy and the products that they want. They buy from each other, sell to each other, and it creates its own economy that allows them to reap the benefits, right? Send their
Right.
kids to college and do those kind of things. And I'm gonna answer your question, but it's funny. It's very similar to what Iran is saying right now about this whole war situation, right?
Mhm.
They're saying we don't care if we lose our relationship with some of our Gulf partners because we want to focus on if we just sell if we manufacture and create products for our country, then do we really need to be part of the global economy, right?
Global economy meaning needing to be a part of other groups.
Meaning selling products to other countries. Because one of the big things is that they keep saying is okay. Well, if America does this and acts like this, then we'll just stop. America will cut you off, and you can't. We won't import any of your products, and we won't export any of our products to you. And any countries associated with us will kind of act the same. But what Iran is kind of saying is, hey, man, that really, hey, we good. We got us, which is similar to what Black Wall Street was saying. We're going to do us over here, right? So there is economic value to that. But I would also say one of the biggest issues, in my personal opinion, that's holding back like if someone said, Jeremiah, go fix the black economy tomorrow, right?
Right.
The first thing I would target is a diversity of industry, right? And I define that as I think it's too many minorities who are in too many industries that don't allow them to reach the upper echelons of income, right? So I'll give you a small example. So, if you were to say every minority that works in the hair industry, we somehow magically transport them into the IT industry, right? Overnight, you just increase the whole economic value of everything they're associated with at least 2-3-fold. So what's the value of that to a community?
If we had more black people in technology.
If you had more minorities working in careers, right, that generate more income, right? Like we kind of talked about.
More lawyers, more docs.
Not even more lawyers, more docs. More lawyers, more docs. I think more engineers. Like I read an article that stated that social sciences at one point was one of the degree most minorities graduated with. And when I say minorities, social science, right? And that's important. If you're in a period of time right after Martin Luther King, and minorities' place in this world is very important. So social sciences make sense, right? But it's not necessarily the economic engine.
So you're saying that's pretty much an outdated system. Going after social science, which is not a bad thing.
Listen,
by the way.
once again, not outdated, but it needs to be more diverse. We don't have enough. And first of all, let's get one thing straight. Black America makes up less than 10% of the entire U.S. population, right? And if you really dive into that number and what it really means, let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
You got less than 10% that make up the American population. From that 10%, how many of those people are working class, right? Let's break that down. Let's just say 50%. Let's just say we'll just take 50% of the kids out, and people who are not qualified to enter the workforce are not able to enter the workforce.
Yeah.
So now you're down to 5% of an entire population. So you have to look at it from that perspective and say, yes, it's still a big number. 5% of 350 million is still a big number, right? That's still 17.5 million people. That's still a lot of people. Yeah. But at the same time, is it, to expect that amount of people to all be marching towards the same thing? It's kind of, to me, that's kind of crazy. But
your way of building wealth would be diversity of career progression.
Diversity of career progression, because I think it would be the easiest way. I think spending more time encouraging more minorities to focus on degree paths. Like, for example, if I took every kid from every low to moderate income community,
yeah,
and I'd say one thing: if I asked them what they want to be and they told me anything related to sports, they automatically have to be enrolled in some type of engineering or IT program. You know how many thousands of kids we would have in these programs, right? Now, that also improves the bottom line of the workforce, because right now, one of America's biggest issue is it's not that they don't have the jobs, they don't have the qualified labor.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have this whole generation of kids to trade you one Patrick Mahomes for 1,000 coders. You feel me?
Right.
Because those 1,000
makes sense.
Yeah, those 1,000 coders who can write in all these different systems and do all these different things and can go work in these artificial intelligence industries, who can work with these quantum computers as they begin to develop, and those technologies continue to grow, who can go into those engineers, the mechanical engineering and all these electrical engineering and all these different, and not just that, even blue collar jobs like plumbing, electricians, to have more kids, HVAC, to have more of those minority kids go into those areas where they can become productive, right? And then they can start pooling resources together to do different things. In my opinion, that would mean more than any. Now that's one way. That's the kids.
One way.
That's the kids. From the adult perspective, I would, if it was up to me, if they allow me, it's a Jeremiah, here's your magic wand. How would you
build wealth in the Black community?
What other ways would you do it? I will concentrate on small business real estate ownership for minority-owned businesses, to get them from leasing spaces to owning spaces, creating city-backed programs where the city will place funds in escrow and provide it to small business owners, qualified small business owners, and allow them to own their real estate. Because what does that give them? That gives them balance sheet improvement. Because
what you're saying may sound like Spanish to a lot of people. Make it like you're selling to a third grade.
Okay.
Because I understand what you mean by escrow and stuff like that, but not a lot of people might understand.
Gotcha.
Like, so you don't got to cut it short. You're getting full context of how you would build it. Where would you even start with that?
I think first it would be going to the city, getting them to be okay with making the equity injection. So one of the biggest things that happened to minority business owners today, a lot of minority business owners, they want to own their real estate.
Right.
But it's difficult because you don't have the wealth. Owning real estate, commercial real estate, is a wealth transaction. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have some skin in the game. And let's face it, your business can be cash flowing like crazy. Right. But if someone tells you I need 20% of $1 million for you to go purchased this building that you're paying rent and been paying rent in for 3 years. $200,000 is a lot of money for most small businesses, right?
Yeah.
Just to come up with the 200,000 liquid. The way most financial institutions respond to this is say, okay, well, if your business, if you have the kind of business you think you have, then you should be able to go to, friends and family. But as we know, in the minority community, that friends and family, that don't hit the same,
Yeah.
And then what they'll do is they'll point you to other programs. They'll point you to like the SBA program. They'll point you to some of these programs that will reduce the amount of down payment that you need, right? Which is understandable, And that does help. But in some cases, that's just not the solution. So being able to have, while that will work, in some cases it won't. So being able to have a situation where the city can step in and say, hey, in these areas, we want to see more ownership. We want to see small business owners own their properties, because at the end of the day, when small businesses go to retire and sell, their sources of revenue is a couple of things. They have their cash flow, which if you sell your business, right, you're typically going to sell it on some type of multiplier, which means you take the net income of your business and you say, okay, the net income of my business is $100,000, right? We're just throwing a number out there,
right?
And I'm gonna sell it on a 3-time multiplier, so 3 times 100,000 is what I'm selling it for, right? Or maybe 5 times, maybe 8 times, whatever it is, whatever your metric is for your specific industry, right? So you just sold your business for $700,000 that you've been in for 40 years, right? So outside of that $700,000, you have no cash. You have no more revenue coming in, right? You still got to pay for things like insurance and everything else to upkeep your life outside of. And in most cases, if you've been an entrepreneur long enough, you may not qualify for certain social benefits, right? Because you weren't paying in the, Social Security and that kind of thing, right? Which is a possibility. So the next best asset for business owners to sell is equipment and real estate, right? So if you're that restaurant owner, you sell your restaurant, you may still own the building, right?
Yeah.
And now you're renting out that building to the new person who owns your restaurant. Maybe you decide to sell a building too, which creates a larger, right, income of wealth from the selling of the building. So I would, strengthening minority business owners to become owners, trying to put those tools and resources together, and not just for real estate, but also across the board with equipment, like truck drivers. How many truck drivers we know that lease their trucks? How many other business owners, they lease their equipment? Contractors, they're leasing their equipment. If there was a program in place that would allow them to deal with the large cash requirement to own that facility, to own that particular equipment, then it would allow them to improve their balance sheet, which is really their retirement plan. The retirement plan sits on their balance sheet, to be honest with you.
You know how I thought about this question a couple of times. I think about when you hear a whole bunch of politicians come in, and they always talk around this topic because it's a tough topic to have. A lot of people can't really figure out what's been going on. Like, they know the root of it. And I think the first part, what's up, little cuz?
Hi.
The first part of it starts with exposure. So the first thing I would do, I would change what's being taught in schools. Like, I would change the class of like Christopher Columbus found the United States to financial literacy. So something like where you're showing people are opening them up to different career paths, like having something that they can actually use and see right in front of them and know that there's me working in the bank over 10 years. There's millionaires who do trash. They pick up trash around the city. There's millionaires who dance for a living. There's millionaires who then wrote books only. And understanding that it ain't just sports that get you the money. It ain't just rapping. And the Black community. So I think the exposure there, changing it, starting with that. I change how they teach school and make it something that you can actually do. Because I got exposed to leadership being around leaders,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know third party risk exists. I didn't know business continuity exists. I didn't know credit analysts exist. Not in our community. The diversity was when you was growing up in the hood. Since I was good at sports, I played sports. But when you was good, you did anything like that, the exposure was just sports. What's up, Auntie? Us the exposure was just football, basketball, track, soccer, or whatever like that. And even they sleep on soccer and baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and they pay the most.
And you
You know
know
what I'm saying? So I changed. That's where I would start, and from that point on. And when I came out of high school, a lot of people didn't have a plan for their life. Like they didn't understand where they wanted to go, what they wanted to do. So understanding how to take the classes that people don't really use, you can't get nothing from it, and exchange that with real courses that you can do something with, like a course to reveal your strength, like a strength course.
And it just kind of goes back to what I said about diversity in industry. Just really, and then that's part of it. Educating these kids on the different industries, so you can educate them on what the right opportunities are.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she lied. Put her lie. Make her lie. She be
Nah, I
tripping
don't
anyway.
want
Dang,
people to
She
be-
jumping
was
down that.
she was about to be rude to me.
I was about to put some noodles on that thing.
I don't know what thing.
in that pie.
Yeah, that's fine. That's for you, huh?
Nah, it's a whole thing.
It's for everybody?
Yeah, if they wanted it.
Okay. So you just have it. Come home, start dinner.
Yeah, I would have cooked it, but you took this meat out. I didn't know what you wanted it for. I was ready to get to it. I was
You making yaki what?
about to
Yeah, you can do that with that pie. Let me
I was about to make that happen. But yeah, man, that's a big thing. Just diversity of industry, just letting people know that these industries exist. I'll tell you a prime example. We know a lot of people who work in realtors, black realtors.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of black realtors.
Oh, and that's another thing in our city too. Getting more people that's already there to go back to our communities and just talk about it. Because a lot of people don't get that in their schools. Like, well, when I came up, I had people come to my school, a few, and put me to the side and say, "This is what I do."
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it, but everybody else didn't know. Like, that's the thing. And when I saw my first black millionaire, my first millionaires that I've been around, they brought me to talk about insurance at a house in Baton Rouge. I was like 16, 17, my first year, before I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And they took me to the house in Baton Rouge. They had a golf course in the back. And they was just talking to me how they make money off insurance.
Mm-hmm.
It was like they all did, some of them did Prime America, which that was a known thing. But this was when they was like first coming in Louisiana doing it big. So I was learning about it. And of course, I was young. I didn't really care. I was like, I don't want to sell no insurance. But they had the money. They had the source of the way to do it. And now today, they're one of the companies that create the most six-figure insurance agents in the world. I think they top, if not one, they two.
But here's the key. As we go back to diversity of industry and diversifying the economy for minorities. So you talk about realtors and insurance agents.
Right.
But let's talk about all the products that surround what they do. So in order to sell a piece of real estate, what do you need?
Land, you
You
need.
got somebody selling land. You got an appraisal company.
Yeah.
You got a company that does the environmental reports.
You got people that can do
You got a-
inspections.
You got a title company,
Audit.
Yep. inspection. So while you're getting paid for the one transaction, there's another 20 other companies that are automatically built into the economic flow of that specific industry. So every time you may want to sell that, but guess what? You got to pay this title company, you got to pay this survey company to complete the survey. You got to pay this insurance company to come in and provide insurance. And look, Uncle Sam get a piece. He get his tax money.
This is me.
So-
this is me where I think the wealth
That's
comes
where
in.
it
This is where I think the wealth comes
true
in.
diversity.
There's a place in Dallas, Texas. If you look it up on Google, it's called Asian Times Square. If you go to Asian Times Square, it's one big store. On the left side of the store, they got an Asian travel agency. The next store, they're in the same building, by the
Yeah.
way. The next store is a mortgage lending Asian place. The next in the middle of the store is Asian cash exchange. So if you're going to China, Japan, Vietnam, you can do your currency exchange right in the place. They got an Asian movie theater right in the bank, right on the side of all of those businesses. It's 3, 4, like 12 Asian restaurants. Everybody is a different owner, but all of them got a little piece of that building, and it's their culture. And they do that same building in different cities around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the Black community needs. That collaboration, that everybody, I don't need to have the 500 horsepower corporation. I just need my small business, and then another person I know, put your small business in here. The other person I know, put their small business in here, and make this a hub of all our businesses for people to come to and do it that way.
So
I think that was a beautiful concept.
So I understand
On display.
I understand what you're saying, and nothing. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that.
Right.
But I think the people you're going to meet today. Okay, let's do it based on cities and demographics.
Yeah.
We're in Austin, Texas. You know what the African American population here is in Austin?
I'm not sure.
6%.
6%.
6%. It's a very small number, right? 6%. So, and a population of around 1 million people, if you're in Austin, that's 60,000, right? Now, what you're describing, if you're in a city like New Orleans, St. Louis, Baltimore, Atlanta,
George.
that makes a whole lot of sense. But in cities like this, what I have seen is you typically get blended cultures because you get, for example, a big term here is Tex-Mex, right?
Right.
Tex-Mex is the Texas version of Mexican culture.
Yeah.
Right. You get, you get a lot of Mexicans here who all about Mexico and don't speak a lick of Spanish.
No.
And you may say, oh man, that's Tex-Mex. But you kind of get the same thing from the African perspective because you have so many minorities in cities like this that grew up around predominantly Caucasian communities. So they don't look at it as we need to stick together or blend together. Even though they left behind, even though they're poor, even though they're suffering all the same consequences, they don't see it that way. The psychology behind it is me sticking next to you doesn't necessarily improve my outcomes. That's not what they see. So I think that's why I go back to giving people the power of knowledge early enough and encouraging them. Because one thing about this kind of community, it's not necessarily for the minority. It's not a community of Black, but it is a community of success. They're surrounded by success. So educating them on the things that can make them successful, it may speak to them psychologically more than connecting with my fellow brother or sister based on the race, the color of our skin. I know it sounds weird, but that's just, in my opinion, how it is sometimes.
No, because we try to create those hubs.
Thinking about it though, a lot of people do come to cities like this. I think the Black community just underestimate how well they can do together. A lot of people try to do the success on their own. We need a lot of collaboration and just simple, basic teaching of what's possible. People need to be inspired. So I think once you show a father, especially a Black father, that it's possible for him to do it, and a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. So exposure is heavy on understanding what you can do in this world. I didn't see people plant. I seen this dude plant palm trees, and he make $2 million a year just planting palm trees.
Once again,
I was like,
and
I didn't even know this was a thing.
And this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. I think there are plenty of people who, if you can plant a seed in their mind of the opportunities, if you show them enough, then there's going to be a spark that kind of ignites in one of these industries, right? It's going to be because it may be one kid. You know, you get a group of kids. You get a like
I can help people in technology.
I
I
don't
can
speak
help
to
you in
kids all the
banking.
time.
I've been in banking over 10 years. I can help you with technology, and I can help you with, well, because we got a room full of streamers now. Everybody play their part. I think if we play, I'll show you how to set up stream. I'll show you how to look mic up. I'll show you how to protect your account. I can show you how to run a bank. I can show you how to move careers. We just need a room
But-
full of know-how
but-
and people that's
But
gonna get up and do, collaborate, and that's gonna build it. For me not to just be a millionaire myself or somebody else just be a millionaire, but we actually do it to where we can create multiple people building wealth. To start it plain, you switch what you learning. You gotta unlearn first. You gotta unlearn the stuff that you think is important. Get around people who know the system. Learn it. Do it exactly the way they do it. Don't switch it up. Just like how you make brownies. If they say put 2 eggs in there, put 2 eggs. If they say put 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of sugar. You do the same thing with your career.
but
You
now
follow
you're
somebody who
diving
got the
more into
blueprint.
mentorship now.
You do need that though.
That's
the
more
collaboration
mentorship.
piece.
Yeah.
You need to be exposed. You need the mentorship of somebody who already been in that position where you at. You need to do it exactly as they tell you to do it. Don't switch it up. Don't tell them how you want to do it. Once you do that piece and you actually start building the wealth, make sure you don't get too excited. You have it. Make sure you collaborate. Because some people do. Once we teach them how to do it and they start building it, they start. Like I did this too when I first started making money. Like when I started making real money, I thought when I made more, I could spend more. So that financial literacy piece was heavy because it showed me in my own practice and my own habits that I had a spending problem. Like I would, if I made it, when I was making $300 every 2 weeks, $600 a month, I was really low. I was spending what, 150, 200. But when that 600 went to 4,000, I was spending 3,000.
But you're talking about two different things now.
We talking about the whole picture though. The whole picture. You gotta have exposure. That's the first part. You gotta have exposure. You definitely need mentorship, but the mentorship comes after you understand what industry you want to be in. So let's pick something we know, banking. So say you want to come in as a teller, but you really want to do financial advising. You come in as a teller. You got the job. Boom. That's the first step. There's financial advisors in there. You pick one that's doing well. Talk the way you want to do it.
So let me pause you there so
Ask them to
you
do
can
some
build on what you're
mentoring.
saying. So the kid comes in, he's a teller, the kid.
Yeah.
From them being a teller to
But he didn't know that was a thing yet, though.
the financial advisor.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm following.
So
because I'm coming from the perspective of your average minority who comes into an industry like that, who's not connected to anyone with experience in the industry, which is the key, then they may not know what financial advisory is.
Right.
So now you have to look at it from the perspective of multiply that across multiple industries that minority kids walk into, because it's no coincidence that your best small business owners come from families of small business owners.
Yeah.
Because you're surrounded by
They got a blueprint.
They got a blueprint. You're surrounded by it. You see
Got
it.
a blueprint.
So the same thing happens. The same thing happens with good money management, good spending habits. A lot of it is learned habits from parents and everything else. So I think you went from talking about how to create wealth to how to manage wealth and how to retain wealth, and which is two different conversations. It's two different conversations. But our kids, I think, just going back to the original question, getting them first to understand that these things exist. Because I go talk to kids all the time, middle schools, high schools, postgraduate, all these different things. And when you go talk to these kids, you're kind of shocked at how much they haven't thought about anything outside of whatever they're passionate about. Okay, so they may be, which in the minority communities is mostly sports. Why? Because sports is what they're exposed to, right? A lot of them are just maybe more physically dominant than the kids around them. So everybody who tries to encourage them uses that sports lane to kind of encourage them.
Right.
You don't necessarily see young kid engineer and some of these programs that you want these kids to go into, they can cost, right? To go teach your average 11, 12, 13-year-old to introduce them to engineering is typically a cost to it if the school isn't providing it, right? Anything outside of what the school provides. So there's typically a cost to it that those minorities can't afford. So finding a way, I think, to introduce these different
An affordable way to learn.
An affordable way outside of your traditional 9 to 5 class school program. How can we have these? How can we own these kids' minds for 2 hours outside of the classroom? You know, these kids that, you know, I used to tell Tim this all the time. There's always an abundance of lost kids because, you know, there's your athletes at a school, right? And then there's your brainiacs at a school who are on the honor roll and they doing all of this. And then you have your kids who are involved in all these extracurricular things, right? This club, that club, this association, that association. But then you have those kids that are involved in anything. They just at school, they just going about their business, going to class, going home. And they're the ones who can either be the next president of the United States or the next, you know, dude to kicking your dough. You never know. It just depends on how, you know, what they're introduced to. Their minds are wide open. And if we can somehow find a way to own the time that we spend with those kids, I think you can close a huge gap, which, you know, it would be huge.
I got a different one because when you do come into space, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna switch the question for you. This is gonna be a tough one. Because when you do start a business, right? You started businesses before. I've started a business before. Multiple, tried, failed, however it went. When it comes down, the first thing you realize in your business is that the people you love and that you support, you thought they was going to support you as soon as you start that business.
Mm-hmm.
But you realize real quick that it was people outside of that kind of came with it. That came with more support than the people that you thought was going to support you, right? So why do you think that is? In our community, at least.
Ask the question again. I want to make sure I understand it correctly.
So why do, in the Black community, we struggle with supporting one another? Is the question. Where do you think that even stems from?
Let me make sure I answer this correctly. I think it's 100%. I hate to say this. You know what? I'm going to call it. It's a culture of cooperative inexperience.
Cooperative inexperience.
You typically, you know, you're repeating behaviors that you've seen.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to small business, right? Because if you come from an environment that doesn't have a lot of small business owners, number one, that means you may not be able to identify and understand the behaviors required to be a successful business partner or partner, just general partner, or even support. So if you don't, and then you may have this person, think about it. This one person is the outlier. This one person is aggressive about wanting to start a business. They're aggressive about what they want out of life. They're aggressive about these things that fit outside of what you're used to within your family dynamic.
Right.
And getting together, having a good time, boom, that's normal. Supporting each other through spiritual hardships, boom, that's normal.
Look, they be quick. They be quick when you say, "Hey, got somebody messing with me out there."
Yeah, listen. That's
I
what
need you to pull up.
that's what they used to. But
So
now
you
you
start a little lemonade stand. So it's only 50 cents. Nobody.
and like I said, it's just so different. It's so out of the box that I think it takes time. Like I had a lady tell me this one time, Asian lady, and I think I told you about her. She owns her own child care center,
Right.
and it's a cultural center. And inside of the cultural center, there's Asian art, and there's Asian cooking utensils, and
Right.
there's Asian clothing. And the goal is to introduce these kids to the core of their culture, the foundation of their culture,
Mhm.
because it's important to help them understand where they come from, what makes up their food, so other people can't tell them about it, right? So other people can't come in and tell them what's important. What's important is what they believe is important. And in the minority community, you kind of been robbed of those things, you know. So it makes it, in my opinion, it can make it a bit difficult to connect on all these different things. The why, like why is it important for us to go out and be this strong economic powerhouse? I got me, you know, I got my bills paid, you know. So you're almost trying to educate them to look beyond what's in their pocket. And I think right now you have this generation of minorities, African Americans specifically, who are interested in wealth gathering, interested in long term, not just earning wealth, but retaining wealth, right?
Mhm.
Making sure they're exercising the right practices. And guess what? Here's the big thing. They're also comfortable in their culture. They're comfortable. They're finally saying, I don't need to be like you. I don't care if I change my hairstyle. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you like my clothes. I don't care. Listen. You tricked. Look. You tricked me when you told me I shouldn't wear Michael Jordans. It was a waste of money. But I finally looked down and saw you got on $300 Crocs. But you're complaining about my $100 Jordans.
But I think the
So-
support piece, why we don't support each other in the black community, because they don't support nothing that they don't think. They have to see it be a guarantee first. Like when I started,
But who doesn't do that?
when I started like my first event, my first business event, and I was inviting people to come to it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody that I knew was at my business event, but when they saw 10 people coming, it was like, they ain't rolling through. I had another event. Then it was like 40 people came. It was like, all right, I'll make it to the next one. They didn't come. Then 300 people came to my event. Next thing you know, hey, I get in the event for free. Man, I was like, I feel like people in the black community have to see it be a guarantee before they support it. They don't rock with you until you make the league. The league would be anything successful. Because they glorify the league. Is how I'm telling you. That's what I saw. They only support it once they see it's something. It's some gas behind what you're doing, and that's only because they gonna want their own slice of it on how to do
it. And that's what and I think that's the thing you have to take into consideration.
Wait, you don't think that happens though?
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I don't think it happens
on large scale.
I don't think it's uncommon.
Okay.
Right.
Like in culture,
it's uncommon in any culture.
Okay, got it.
You know, it's hard enough to get people to come in a room where they don't have aligned values and benefits, where they don't see the benefit of them walking in the room. In my opinion, I would challenge the person. You know, how well did you describe to them what the benefit would be to them to walk in that room?
Right.
Because the same person who didn't walk in your room, you know, I hate to use this as an analogy, right? Mm-hmm. But since it's one of the oldest trades in mankind, I'm gonna use it. You know, strip clubs gonna be around forever because, you know, you can easily get a man to realize really quick the benefit to himself to walk in there, right? So, and a lot of times with things we do from a business perspective, you want people to support you, but at the same time, you know, what's the benefit to them? It's one thing to say, hey, listen, come and support my event. is another thing that come and say, hey, listen, man, you got this business. Why don't you come set you up a table? And you know what? And I'm gonna announce that you're in the room. Okay. Now you got this person who didn't want to come. Now you got him and his 20 boys they want to come and blah blah blah. Well, that's a shared benefit. And guess what? The audience is going to be an audience that's beneficial to you. All right. It's a whatever. We got this guy come and speak. He brings this type of audience. So that's a different thing. I think there's an expectation because people can express their fear in different ways. A person can be fearful of walking in a room, walking into an environment that they're uncomfortable in because they know inside they don't have. They may feel inside they don't have the knowledge to add value to the room. A lot of times, so you gotta find a way to help people be comfortable in their own skin. Because I've noticed the smartest people, the most powerful people, they're really super shy and standoffish, and they really are not trying to be in the middle of a room talking about nothing. They really don't. They just want to do their work. They're great at doing the job, and that's what they want to do. They don't want to be in front of a camera. They don't want to be none of that. So if you was to ask one of those people, hey, I need you to come here and come stand on the stage, yeah, they might say, nah, I ain't gonna make it.
Hey, you know what I thought about doing as an event? Just helping business owners with their pitch, like how to pitch what they sell.
Mm-hmm.
Not because a lot of people, when you ask them what their business is about, it's like they have a tough time explaining it. Like they know what it is. Just like if you ask people what they do for a living, and the person be like, "Hey, I work in sales." But that ain't really what they do. The real thing they would probably do is say, "Hey, I help people figure out that their business isn't working, so I sell them a business plan that helps them grow their customers by 40 or 50% in 6 months."
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You know, that's how you contribute to society.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have an issue with how they pitch their business. But we're going to get in more dialogue. Just something quick. I think how to build wealth in the Black community is one of those things that I don't think it's that tough, but I do think you need all hands on deck. It ain't gonna be a one-person situation.
I think the blueprint is already like people try to make that question sound so complicated, but the blueprint is already there, and you don't have to look far. You don't have to look far for the problem. We all know what the problems are, but you don't need to look far for examples of the ongoing issue. Right? You can look within your own family. I tell people, especially minorities, just look at your own family. Just look left and look right and ask yourself, does this person have the tools that will be required to go out and realistically go earn wealth in corporate America, especially if they're working in corporate America, right? Mm-hmm. Do they have the education and knowledge on the industry that they're in? If the answer is no, then guess what? You're going to get the outcomes you get. Okay, what about from a small business perspective? Same thing. Does this person have the knowledge, tools, resources to accomplish this wealth building thing? And if that's not the case, then you kind of gotta backtrack a little bit and say, okay, number one, is this something that they even care about? Because that's what I had to learn too the hard way. There's a lot of people who you may look at and be like, man, I really want them to be, to learn how to gain wealth. Guess what? They really don't care. I met a lady one time, and she was working at Burger King. She told me straight up, all I care about is sending my son to college. Right. I want to send my son to college. I want to own my house. That's it. That's all the lady cared about. So why would I sit here and talk to this lady about owning her own Burger King? We tried to have that conversation. They said, man, sir, I don't give one craps about owning the Burger King. I will manage this Burger King. They pay into my 401k. She had a whole plan planned out. Who's right and who's wrong in that situation, right? Right. So a lot of times, especially if you think because you have an entrepreneurial mindset that other people need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. No, the reality is they don't. So accepting people for who they are, right? If that's how they feel, if that's what they want to do with their life, go right ahead. They going to work, working their 9 to 5. They got their mind made up how they want to. You have no idea how many people I talk to, and I'll see them right on the brink of making what I think is a horrible financial decision. And they'll look me dead in my eye and say, hey, but it's what I want.
That's what they feel. You know, live and die on that hill.
And that's what I want. And the financial stress of it is they're not concerned about that piece of it like you are. You're concerned about it, but they're like, well, if it goes bad, I'll just handle, is it right the way they think? In my eyes, no, but in their eyes, hey, they feel like, hey, I'm gonna be here. Look, I got 30 more years. Before, you talking to somebody that's 65 years old about financial responsibility. If they ain't give a damn in 65 years, and they telling you they don't care. It's about time you believe them. So I think there's something to be said about that. There's a lot of minorities. They don't buy into this culture of needing to be this filthy rich person. They want a nice 2-3 acre lot house they live in. They like the job they do. They pay their taxes. They pay their bills, and they are ecstatic.
Right. I
So
think that's success though, right there.
Yeah,
You got the house you want, family good. You ain't really stressing about the next bill or anything like that. It ain't super rich, but your family involved.
So
Take everybody taken care of. I think you good.
So that's another underlying question. What is wealth?
Hey,
What is wealth?
hey, I'm gonna get into that one next in another book.
I was about to say, what did Steve?
That's a little.
What did Steve Jobs say? I got this disease and I can't pay nobody enough money to take it away. So what is wealth?
Hey.
Is it health? I know plenty of people with 6 packs.